Today we are going to be doing some editing in Lightroom. So we're going to start out with this image here, and I'm going to do a few different things to it. I'm also going to show you how I'm going to use AI to fix this because the wind was blowing and it made her skirt go between her legs, and I don't like it. So we're going to use some AI within Photoshop to fix that up as well. So the first thing I'm going to do on this image is I'm going to put my preset on here. This is preset number 2, Punchy. I usually use this one. I don't usually use anything else other than this, except for obviously like the black and whites. But I like this one for everything. So once we put that on there, it is looking a little warm. So we're going to just take that down. Maybe somewhere around there. Yeah, that looks good. And we'll just make it a little less pink. That looks good. All right, so I'm gonna do select subject, and it's already on the settings that I like to use, but it's basically just putting the shadows up by 9, the whites up by 10, and then down here I do have sharpening on, like just a tiny bit. And that's all that I have for that one. And I like to put that over the people, and it detected it correctly, but I always like to check just in case because sometimes it messes it up. Okay, so now that we've got them looking nice, we're gonna get the sky. So I'm gonna say select sky, and then we're gonna add the sky mask. This is included in my preset pack. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna actually take the temp off. I bring it down so like the sky will be bluer, but I don't want that on the mountains, and I'm about to add this to the mountains because I don't really like that this is still so light colored when I made the sky darker. And so what I'm going to do to fix that is click add, and then I'm going to go to the linear gradient, and I'm just going to drag it down, and so that darkens up the background. I think that looks a lot better. If you move it up a little, it'll be a little less, but I like it a little bit more like, maybe like that. And so that just adds it on. So now the gradient is on there, but it's on the people, right? So we're going to click subtract, and we're going to say select subject. So now it's not on the people. But if you notice, this looks really weird. I don't like this. So now to fix that, we're going to go to subtract. We're going to do radial. And we're going to put that over top of where the sun is, but that's too much. So we take this, bring it all the way down, and now that took the sun away from that area. So now the gradient or the mask looks like this. And so that just kind of fixed everything right up. All right, and it is looking like their faces are going to need some brightness. So we're going to go to the radial gradient. We're making a new mask right now. And we're going to make sure we're on this one, which was that first setting that I had for the people. And I'm just going to put it over them. Now, the feathering is crazy because it was over the sun. So I'll probably do the feathering like that. And then I just want it on her face. So that's good. And I'm going to make another one. There is a shortcut. And so I usually am using the shortcut, which is Shift M. But I'll just select it for now so you can see what I'm doing. I don't think his face really needs one, and then hers does. And so there we go. And I am happy with that. Okay, so now we're going to bring it over into Photoshop. So I'm going to right click, say edit in Photoshop. And now we just wait for 5,000 years for it to open. Okay, so now we have it open in Photoshop, and we're gonna go to this selection tool, the lasso tool, so then we can pick what we want. So I'm just gonna zoom in by clicking Command plus on my keyboard, and I'm just gonna lasso around the area that I want to fix. And I'm gonna hit generative fill. And I'm not going to put anything in here. I'm just going to say generate and see if it does a good job. I don't think this needs a description. If you were to type something, it would probably just be confused. So it usually does a pretty good job on its own of figuring out what you want. So that looks okay That looks better. Oh, that one looks good. I think I like that one maybe. Let me see. The only thing I don't like is like, why are there lines right there? I might just lasso this area. Oops. Why? Okay, hold on. There we go. And do generative fill just on that, because there's some weird lines happening that I'm not liking. So we will hopefully get rid of that, and then it should be good to go. Let's see. So that one, or that one. Nope, this first one's good. Okay, so we had this, and now we have this. And, oops, here it is. And that looks so much better than it did before. So we're just gonna flatten this and save it. I just hit Command S for save. And there it is. That one is finished, and now let's move on to the next one. So this one is an in-home session, and I usually use the exact same thing. I usually use punchie on in-home stuff as well, but sometimes I like some of these other ones. So I actually think maybe punchie warmth for this one, but I don't want it to be so yellow. Let's see, something like that, and then maybe a little bit pinker. Okay, and that looks awesome. So let's crop this in a little bit and make these lines straight on the bed. They had like some things off to the side here that I don't think they minded if it was in the photo. I kind of don't like the feet, so I might, let's see, I might just do that. Okay, I don't like that I cropped it up so far on the top though. Let's see. There we go. That's cute. All right, so then we're gonna go over here, and I'm gonna click select subject again and just do that to brighten them up a little bit. And then I'm also gonna do the radial gradient for their faces. And so I'm just gonna hit Shift M to make this go faster. And that's just for the faces. And there we go. Okay, and then I'm also noticing that this side of the photo is a lot darker than this side, obviously because there was a window here, but we can make that a little better by going to the linear gradient and just dragging it over like that. And then I'm still leaving these same settings that I was using before, so then it was like that and now it's like that. I think that looks much better. Might even, whoops. Oh, of course it's like on a mask. There we go. Draw it that way. Do that. Okay, let's see. Yes, I like that. Okay, so that's all I would do for this in-home photo. Actually, you know what? I don't know if I like this light switch here. I don't mind the picture, but the light switch I don't love as much. So you can just do this within Lightroom. So I like to use this one, which will just kind of figure out what it is that you need. And I feel like it works better if you are drawing it on rather like with a smaller brush rather than putting a huge dot over it. It usually works a little bit better, but because we cropped it, it's still saving some of the info from up there, so we probably should have done this before we cropped it, but I just have to make sure I get up a little bit higher, and that should do a better job. Yep, there we go. That's much better. Okay, yeah, and that is what I would do for that. For this one, let's fix this first. So the horizon's straighter, and I would leave that like that. Okay, so I'm gonna put punchy on it. That's my fave. It's looking a little bit like it needs some needs to be a little less yellow. And then the tints, I think it needs to be pinker. There we go. And I think I'll bring the shadows up a little bit on this one as well. All right, so let's go into the masks and we'll do select subject first. And this is to brighten them up. It doesn't select the boy, but I'm okay with that because he's turned more towards the sun, so he doesn't really have much shadow on him, so I'm fine with that. I might lift the shadows a little bit more on them, and then I'll do another radial gradient just for their faces. Whoops, there we go. And then they're already in the sun, so they don't need anything on their faces. And now I'm going to do the sky. So for this one, we're going to hit select sky, and we're going to make sure we're on the sky mask, and that looks pretty awesome. I feel like maybe the blue is too intense. Actually, let's take that off completely. Yeah, it's already got enough blue. We don't need to add it. The cool thing about the lighting here is that the sun was like over to the right, and it had some of these wispy clouds over it, so it wasn't completely out, so that diffused it a little bit and made it so it wasn't so intense. If it had been completely out and I were trying to do it at this angle, I think it would have been way too intense on them, and the shadows and the highlights would have been too contrasty. But because it was a little bit less intense, it just really worked right here. Okay, so let's see. I kind of feel like that is mostly all we need to do. I might do like a linear gradient and just darken up this area here. Just go to that burn darken, which just puts the exposure down by 30. And that's all. I just kind of like having that a little bit darker because the sun was on it, and so it was making my eyes pay more attention to that. But if you put it a little bit darker, I feel like it, maybe even that much, there we go. I feel like that looks better to my eyes. Okay, I think I might just crop it a tiny bit there. Let's see, actually I want them to be more in the middle, so I think I'll do that. There we go. All right, we will put punchy on this one. And let's see, just bring that up a tiny bit. And it needs to be pinker. There we go. Bring up the shadows. Okay, let's go over to the masks and we'll do select subject. I'll put it on this, the shadows and the whites going up a little bit. And so that brightens them up a little bit, and then we'll do another radial just for their faces. And now let's do the sky. So select sky, and we'll put the sky mask on there. Okay, and for this one, let's see, if I take off the blue, I'm gonna add the linear gradient and just get it onto the mountains a little bit. But not too much. Let's see. Yeah, I think that looks a little bit better. And then I'm going to do a sky mask again, and this time I'm just going to go up to temp. So I'm only adjusting the temperature, and so then I can choose what I want to do here, but I just wanted to make it a little bit more blue. But I didn't want that blue to get on the mountains, so that's why I made it separate. So there we go, because I like how that looks. Okay, and I think I'm actually gonna raise the exposure a little bit. I have the plus button set to raise the exposure. When you click, like if I click on contrast, now the plus and minus keys are gonna adjust the contrast. If you click highlight, now they're gonna adjust the highlights. So I always have it on exposure just because that's a quick thing that I'm gonna want to do. So I can just click the plus button at any time and adjust the exposure. Then I might just bring the highlights down a little bit. And another thing I like to do, just within my preset, in the color grading, I click on the highlights So you'll be on this when you first go to it, right? So I click on the highlights, and then I like to do luminance and just bring it up a little bit, and just kind of just makes the highlights a little bit more luminant. I don't know. If you bring it all the way up, luminant is not a word. I just made that up. Okay. If you bring it all the way up, it's very intense, which I think looks really cool, but it's just not really my style. If you brought it all the way down, then you've really like taken a lot of the contrast out. So it kind of just makes it more contrasty, but just it's targets just the highlights, which I think just looks really cool. So I would probably do it like somewhere around 20 or something like that. Just because I don't usually have stuff that's as contrasty as this, but I know there's a lot of people who bring their stuff into Photoshop and they're trying to get this specific look right here. Well, you can do it in Lightroom, and this is how you do it. All right, let's go to the next one, and this one is just gonna be super quick and easy. I'm gonna stick Punchy on there. I'm gonna probably crop this in, so let's see, I might do it like right there. Yeah, just because I didn't really want, I don't know, the little thing on his shirt is kind of annoying me, and also the light between his legs. So whoops. So then I'm just gonna bring it above that, and then now none of that is in my way, and they're more in the middle of the frame. Okay, so select subject. Sometimes I shoot like off center on purpose because there's some kind of sun flare that's trying to get into my lens, and I'm trying to make sure that it's not on their face. So sometimes I have to shoot a little bit off center when I know I'm gonna crop it in later, specifically so I don't get the sun flare on people's faces. But just the specific angle right now, there wasn't a sun flare, so didn't have to worry about that. Okay, and we'll grab this radial because Dad's face is looking a bit dark there because it's face down. His looks good though. Okay, so that is mostly all I would do. I would actually take the sun though and make it a little bit more yellowy orange. So let's do radial gradient, and we'll do it to there. We'll bring this down like that. That's the feathering again. I'm just feathering it more so it doesn't have such a hard line. And then I'm going to go down to more sunshine. And that one is something that I actually just recently made. So it's not in my preset pack, but I'll tell you what it is. So I raised exposure by 0.11. I brought the highlights up by 10, shadows up by 4, whites up 2, and the blacks up 7. Then I brought the temp up 20. And then down here is where I brought the clarity down to -24, and that just made it look a little bit more glowy. And that is what the settings are for this. So that is what I would put over the sun just to make it a little bit more glowy and warm. All right, moving on to this one. So for this one, I actually shot this kind of crooked. As you can see, like this line right here is going diagonally. And so what I would want to do with the crop is this. So then this line is going the right way, but then I'm cutting off the tops of the mountains, and that is just not okay with me. But I couldn't stand back any farther or else I would have fallen down a hill. So for this one, because I shot it crooked, I'm going to have to bring it into Photoshop to fix that. But before I do that, gotta edit it. So I'm gonna stick Punchy on there, and let's see, for this one, I think it's looking like maybe it's a little too warm. There we go. And then I'll bring the shadows up a tiny bit. And then let's go into masks, and we'll do select subject. That's on the wrong setting right now. We'll do this one. So shadows up 9, whites up 10. And then I'm going to do with the same settings, put it over their faces. There we go. I'm gonna hit Shift M just to get this boy, his reaction to them kissing was hilarious. Okay, and I'm just putting that on their faces, just brighten them a little bit. Yeah, that looks good. And then we want to bring out the sky, and also the mountains are a little bit light. So I'm gonna do the select sky, and let's see, actually I don't think we need to do select sky. I'm gonna do undo on that. We're just gonna grab the linear gradient and we're gonna drag it down onto this mountain here, a little bit diagonal to go with like the line of these mountains here, and then I'm gonna click the sky mask. Now obviously that's like way too dark, so I'm gonna take off exposure and I'm gonna take off the temp because I don't want to make those mountains look blue, and then probably I want a little bit of highlights down. I don't want the shadows down, do I? Maybe. Let's see. So that was before, that's after? Yeah, I like that. Okay, now I'm gonna hit select sky, and I'm only gonna make the sky more blue. So I'll bring that down a little bit, and then I might just bring the highlights down on the sky. Okay, so now it is looking blue, and let's see, I think I'm gonna bring the exposure up a bit because they're still looking kind of dark. Maybe the black's up a tiny bit. Yeah. And then I'm gonna do for a lot of images where there's not any sun or like sun flares coming through, I like to bring the luminance up just a little bit, just to make it pop a little bit more and give it some more contrast. So let's see, maybe this could be slightly pinker, maybe a little bit. Yeah, I like that. Okay, let's bring it into Photoshop. All right, so now is the time where we're going to click on this crop tool, and we're going to make sure that the lines there, these ones, are going along the right, like these lines here. I'm just lining it up. And now I want to probably just make this go up a little bit taller because I think it'll look better with some more sky in it. And then I'm gonna let it generate the information for this and this and this and this. So I actually don't need to write anything in there, and I just hit generate. So now the generative expand will figure it out. There we go. Okay, so then we can choose, because it gives you 3 options. So I'm mostly paying attention to like the side here. I know that the sky is gonna look basically the same. And like the sides over here, but mostly this is what is gonna be messed up, like the mountains and the side here the most, so I'm gonna pay attention to that. I think this one's the best. Yeah, the other ones had like too much weirdness going on here. And then I like to actually zoom it in. I hit Command plus to zoom in and just double check, because yeah, a lot of times with it, this stuff is like not the correct like blur factor, I guess. So I'm gonna do a new layer, and I'm going to use my clone stamp tool. I'm gonna make it larger, and I'm gonna, so you hit option and then you click somewhere on the photo. I have all layers being sampled, so that means it's gonna be sampling from this layer down here. But if you don't have it on and you just have it on like current layer, then it will do nothing because it's a blank layer, right? So, okay, so I'm gonna hit option, I'm gonna click over here. So now I know I'm sampling from there. I'm gonna bring it over here, and I'm just going to draw it on there. And let's see, kind of want to get, I don't know if this will work though, because there's like, I might just let me see, let me bring this down. I'll do this, and I'll just kind of put that there. There we go. Sometimes the generative expand is real dumb. Okay, and I guess that looks more believable, but there is like a little bit of, you can see the difference. So I'm gonna put a layer mask on there, and then go to my brush tool. Now anything that I draw on this layer mask in black will take it away, and anything in white will bring it back. So right now I want to make this brush really small, and I just want to take it away. Oops. And then I just hit X to go back and forth between white and black, just to like get rid of anything that is looking off. Let me see. Yeah. Okay, and I think that looks much better than it did before. I'm gonna hit 0 to look at it large, and that looks believable to me. All right, and then we're gonna check on this side and see if this all looks fine. Yeah. All right, see, I pay attention to these tiny dumb details like this. Okay, so flatten image, and then we're gonna save it, and that is it for this photo. Let's go with this image. So I'm gonna throw Punchy on there. And for this one, I feel like it is way too warm, so we'll bring it down. Sure, yeah, that looks good to me. And maybe some more pink. Yes, that's perfect. Okay, select subject, and we will brighten them up. It's already on those settings, so we're good with that. I'm gonna hit Shift M and just put some masks on their faces to brighten them up a little bit. And I like to feather it. So if you didn't feather it, and you just, okay, I need to zoom in if I want to be able to do that, and you just had this all the way there, then you'd see a hard line. Do you see how you can see a hard line around where you put the mask? So just so you can understand like the feathering concept, now you don't see a hard line, you can't tell that it's there. Okay, so continuing to add these to their faces, and there we go. Okay, now we're gonna do the sky, so let's hit select sky, and we're gonna put the sky mask on there. And I'm gonna take the blue off because I already know that I'm gonna make this sky mask go down onto the mountains more, because you can see like these just look too light now with the sky being darker like that, and that annoys me. So we're gonna click add, and we're gonna go to the linear gradient, and we're just gonna drag it down like that. And that is a good amount of darkness. But now it's on their faces again, so now we have to hit subtract and select subject, so now it's not on the people anymore. And then the last thing I might do for this one is subtract radial gradient and just take it off of this area a little bit, just to keep it looking bright and like the sun was glowing there. So that is what your mask is looking like. And then now I'm going to do create a new mask. I'm going to do linear gradient, and I'm going to draw it down over the sky. And what I'll do for this one is temp. I'm going to make it bluer, and I can also just bring the highlights down a little bit. There we go. The sky was so clear this day that it's like there's not much going on here. There's like a little tiny wispiness right here, just barely. So gotta add some blue in there to make it more exciting, right? Okay, and then I actually might also do a radial gradient and add more sunshine to that. Yeah, that's after you add it, so it just makes it a little more glowy. And then I think I just bring up the shadows a little bit on this, and yep, that's it. My photo's done. And here's the last one, and we're gonna put Punchy on here. They are looking a little too blue, so we're gonna just warm this up a bit. probably need to make this a little pinker, tiny bit. All right, let's go select subject. Definitely on the wrong setting right now. Here we go. All right, we do face bright for that one, and then Shift M to get the radial gradient for their faces, just to make them a little bit brighter. And then I'm gonna do Shift M again, and I'm gonna put more sunshine on there. And I'm okay with it being a little bit on the tops of their heads. I think that looks pretty. So that's before and that's after with that. And I'm just gonna bring the shadows up a little bit, and I'm gonna hit the plus button to bring up the exposure, and that's done. I do sell my presets within my shop, and I'll put the link to that in the description below. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more of these types of videos.